ChowDownChou or random gaming, depending on what you're watching.
All right, welcome to Chow Down Chow. This is the first episode that we actually have a live guest. I'm honored to have my boy Brandon Lee joining the podcast. What's up, Brandon? Say hello.
Hey everybody. Thanks for having me, Derek. Good to be on here.
Cool. Nice. It sounded a little bit choppy. Glad to see that the Wi-Fi is just like me. Woke up too early, not functioning too well. But yeah. Anyways, I wanted to invite Brandon to be on the podcast because I'm sure everyone knows COVID-19 and the whole quarantine thing that's happening in America. And since I'm not physically there, I really want to get to know just how life is looking like, and give you a chance to know what life is like outside of the U.S. as well. And so we shall discuss that. So just give me your overall thoughts on how quarantine is going and how that has affected you personally, I guess, from your personal point of view.
Yeah. So quarantine. So I'm based out of San Francisco right now, in California, and I'm very thankful because our governor Gavin Newsom has been doing a tremendous job, along with working with the governors of the West Coast, not only Oregon and Washington, but Nevada and Arizona. So very fortunate to have his leadership. I think that without him, we'd be in a position that is pretty a worse position if we would had some other governors in the South. And I mean, no disrespect, but people that are too eager to open up the economy, risking a lot of lives is concern. A lot of medical experts from UCSF and all over the world, especially from the World Health Organization, is saying that, if we open too soon, people are going to die. And the fact that a lot of these people don't care about their lives and others around them is pretty interesting.
So I have heard about a lot of the states gradually reopening. So what sort of timeline is California on right now? Has some restrictions been lifted, or when do officials expect it to sort of go free again?
Yeah, so currently the Bay Area, San Francisco County and 5 other counties, they have shelter-in-place orders that will last throughout the month of May. But according to Gavin Newsom's timeline, we are currently in phase 2 of slowly easing back into normalcy. And phase 2 has very limited businesses that can open. For example, florists and some retailers. I'm actually in property management with JLL, and I manage a 3-level retail spots. And since the phase 2 began last week, I've been getting numerous calls. They're not robocalls, but I'm pretty sure they work with like Google, Yelp, Foursquare, whatever, if business is open. And still at the moment, they're not open. At my property, and a lot of different properties aren't open as well.
Okay. So they're choosing not to open, although it's possible.
Correct. There's some limitations to the phase 2, like it can only be curbside orders, curbside pickups.
Okay.
And they have to offer like contactless payment options too.
Okay, nice. So I think a big part of quarantine is working from home, right? Everyone's working from home. I just want to know from your point of view, since I'm not working, unless you call this work, but how has working from home been like for you, and what do you miss about the traditional office setting, and what do you think is actually good parts of working from home?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with the good first.
Sure.
Early March, about 2 weeks before all this happened, my sister gave birth to
nice.
a
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. Her name is Morgan, and I've been spending a lot of time. Is the best thing that's happened in quarantine. Get to watch her roll
Yeah.
around, and sometimes, go number two. Fart is really funny. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, she's been keeping us all sane and happy. A little limelight of it. The bad, I wouldn't say it's bad. Honestly, my usual work is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I kid
Yeah.
you not, my commute is now down to 0. So I just wake up at like 7:58 and
Yeah.
roll out of bed and start my day. And also, given my line of work, I'm in property management. I'm very tenant oriented, and a lot of my tenants aren't here anymore or in the building.
Okay.
So there's really not as much to do.
Yeah.
And there's not as much as tenant requests.
Yeah.
That's good too. The things that I do really miss is just human interactions. Give me 1 second here.
No problem.
So yeah, I miss human interactions with my colleagues.
Yeah.
And just being in the office actually helps the day fly by a lot. Just running around, walking that floor, taking care of this tenant, etc. It's a little different. You can separate home and also
Gotcha.
your office. Work-life balance. Now there's just work and life. There's no balance.
Yeah, I'm sure it all blends into one as you're just sitting at home. I wonder though because if can you hear me? Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So if I'm working from home, I would be doing a lot of outrageous things that you can never do while you're working. I just wonder if you have any stories about what's like the most outrageous situation that you've ever been in while you're still working. Like, what have you been doing while you're on the computer or while you're attending a Zoom call? Have you had those stories? I feel like a lot of people have had those stories.
Like while working from home, any outrageous stories?
Like, have you ever, not worn any pants, stuff like that,
No, I've been clothed. I haven't embarrassed myself.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes when like meetings would run long and you really have to use the bathroom, like you either put everyone on mute and just go,
Okay.
or like you just have to hold it in. I think that's the most outrageous part. It's just like, oh, I really didn't. Yeah.
So you bring the laptop to the bathroom? Because I've seen people do that.
Yeah, one time I did, but like I don't have my camera isn't there's only one camera. I know some have like dual cameras and whatnot. So yeah, I just turned off, I muted myself and face the camera the other way. So it's not that hard, people. I don't know why I don't know why they don't get it.
Yeah, well, some people don't get it. They either forgot to mute. I saw a lady that legit forgot to turn off her camera and was just peeing in front of the whole company. So that's not great.
I saw that too. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Way to create an impression. Anyways, one interesting point about what you just said is there's a newborn baby in the house. How has that affected like all the preparations going on for quarantine? I can imagine they've got to be pretty worried about the little one's health, and what sort of preparations have been in place or precautions?
Yeah, so for us, those that go out to like, go to the essential businesses for groceries, gas, whole 9 yards, like we take a little more safety measures, I guess, while holding the baby, or we don't try to get as close if we've been outside. I'm the designated grocery shopper, lunch pickup person.
Nice.
So I've been spending as like, I haven't been holding her. One, I'm scared of the living shit out if I hold her. I don't know, I might drop her. But also, it's good. Like, yeah, and my mom been on PTO since this happened. She's technically an essential worker. I don't know how, but we've been trying to not have her go in. So yeah.
Okay. Any purchasing of baby face masks? I know that's in. I've seen a lot of them floating around.
No, actually.
Okay.
I feel like that's more prevalent in Asian countries rather than the West.
Yeah, so speaking of that, that's actually a very interesting point that I wanted to talk about. The difference in the culture of wearing face masks. Because, a lot of people out here, I live in Taiwan, a lot of people wear face masks even before the quarantine happened. People just wear it on the street. And when I went to the US, I remember my freshman year, I got a cold or whatever, and I had brought some face masks home from Taiwan, and I wanted to wear them. And my roommates were like, literally no one wears them, and you seem like a weirdo if you do. And I can't help but wonder what that part has played in the spreading of the virus, because Taiwan has been controlling it fairly well. That's because literally everyone started wearing masks the moment they found out this virus was a thing. Everyone. So you're weird if you don't. So what role do you think that played? And do you think this culture would change after COVID-19, or have you already seen it changing?
I think the change will be very minimal, given
Okay.
what I've seen. Though people will probably take mask wearing a little bit more. I guess it's not as taboo. It won't be as much
Okay.
taboo.
Yeah.
Because back then people would think that, oh, the CDC doesn't say I have to wear a mask. I myself am guilty of that. Like, CDC didn't say anything. The spread of it being airborne, though it can linger. Like, when I'm outside, usually it's in a windy area, so by the time I even hit somewhere or anyone, it'll be like gone already.
Okay.
So but I think, well, another reason I want to go back with you on Taiwan handling it so well is because I think your vice president is an epidemiologist, or someone from the administration is one. So they are an expert in this. Versus the two guys in the White House have no idea what they're doing. So can I cuss on this show?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think one good part that we've done is, since the beginning of this whole thing, our version of the CDC is holding a press conference. Yes, exactly. Is holding a press conference every day, led by like what our equivalent of what Fauci is in America. And the president doesn't attend. She never really says anything about the virus. She just lets the experts handle it. And every day we have a press conference talking about how many people came in with the virus, how we're tracking them, and we give out the list of people that they've been in contact with, all the places they've been. So the tracking has done a lot. Like, we've started tracking everyone that these people infected have been in touch with since the start of the virus, and it's very frequent in terms of the updates that they're giving us, and all the masks. So the mask is actually a huge part. So we were actually on a shortage of masks when everyone started wearing them. So our CDC had to implement a plan where everyone would essentially go to like a 7-Eleven or go to a drugstore, and you would use your the equivalent of your ID to get a mask. Like, every adult would get 3 masks a week, and that's how we've been able to portion it to make sure everyone has it. And we started putting some restrictions on public areas. Like, you literally can't go on any public transportation without a mask. They'll ask you to leave, or any restaurant or any mall. So that's how we've been able to keep everything open. It's actually been, I think, 10 days without any new cases in Taiwan. So I basically think we're sort of over the hump. And comparing this to the US, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on just how horribly the US has handled it, because I think it's pretty apparent right now that it has gone off the rails. So I'll let you take over from then. What do you think of the US's response? And what do you think is, if you could name one critical mistake, what would it be, I guess?
Leadership in the White House. We have experts from CDC. We have Dr. Anthony Fauci from the I think National Institute of Infectious Diseases and Allergy. So those are like the two glimmers of hope in that space in the White House right now. But just I think Donald Trump has downplayed it significantly, and that is the reason why America is leading in the number of deaths and confirmed cases. Um,
Yeah.
his COVID-19 response team is terrible. Besides Dr. Fauci and some of the actual experts, even our fellow Golden Bear, our Surgeon General, Dr. What was his name? Jerome something. I forgot his name. But yeah, our Surgeon General is like saying, don't wear masks. And I'm like,
crazy.
You know, so yeah, I get that, you know, the United States is so large and has a lot of people all spread out. It's very, very hard to control. But, you know, if Trump didn't disband the pandemic response team earlier, if he actually paid attention since January and February and not calling it a hoax, you know, that would have at least slowed the spread. He's just not giving the facts, and he's saying that, you know, tests can be, if you want to test, you can have. No, that's not entirely true. At all.
Okay. Yeah. From my point of view,
that if we don't have tests, we will confirm cases.
Yeah.
So going back to like earlier, I said like we're fortunate to be on the West Coast under the leadership of Gavin Newsom. You know, he actually took it serious, and I, you know, personally, when London Breed, our mayor of San Francisco, stated that San Francisco was in a state of emergency, I was like, a little bit taking it overboard, you know, kind of premature. And then, and that was in mid-February, and then a few weeks later, you know, shit hit the fan, and then we're on sheltering in place and all that. So I think, you know, in hindsight, it's always 2020. So London Breed did a very good job, and we were actually the first cities to, you know, shelter in place, and then a few days later, Gavin Newsom made it a statewide order. But regardless, we have definitely seen a flattening of the curve, and that's why we are slowly easing into the new normal. And over the weekend, there was a bar in the Marina District captured on Twitter. This one bar was open, and they had crowds, not inside but outside on the sidewalk, not 6 feet apart, not wearing masks, and it's all these Brads and Chads and some Beckys, and they're just not taking it seriously. And that I think that's the thing. Going back to masks, like white folks won't wear it, especially straight white males, because it makes them look weak. I don't know how masculinity is part of the conversation. It's a public health issue. You're trying to save not only yourself, but other people around you. It's just their masculinity is very toxic, self-centered, and I just think that they will probably, they don't care. That's the thing. They don't care. And that's what really boggles my mind. So we'll see more of more minorities wearing the mask, taking it seriously, staying 6 feet apart, staying at home, not going out. Because you can see in the news a few weeks ago in Huntington Beach, California, people were flooding the beaches. And the weather was nice and all, totally understandable, but you have to stay home. That's that.
I think in the end, it all boils down to being selfish, being incredibly selfish. I think, you know, personally, like I wouldn't say I'm the most like left-leaning person on earth. I actually have a lot of thoughts that I feel like are actually a little bit right-leaning. But in this situation, this is a public health matter. A lot of the folks I see on TV protesting about stay-at-home orders, they're like, you know, this is America. I can go out if I want to. I can get COVID-19 if I want to. That's not how it works. I saw some Republican douchebag talking about, people drown in swimming pools every year, and those people are more than what COVID-19 kills. And I'm like that, but swimming pools don't spread. COVID-19 spreads, and the more people that go out and have that thought, the more people are going to get it, which means more people that may have nothing to do with you, people's grandmothers, people's grandfathers, people's moms and dads, sons and daughters, they're going to die because of your action, and that's insane to me. That's mind-boggling. But
Yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah, and anyways, back to the whole Trump thing. I think that's actually a very interesting point because at the beginning of the whole pandemic, I feel like he saw it as an opportunity to sort of boost his own popularity by being the face of the whole response. So he had press conferences every day, but the fact is he doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you look at other political figures like Cuomo in New York and Newsom in California, they've been holding press conferences as well, but they were able to deliver news and facts calmly and in more precise language. I just wonder what you think about Trump's decision to be the front face of the response team, and how do you think this will affect the elections? I think that's a very important part as well.
Yeah, I'll go with the latter question first. So the polls have showed that Biden has been leading. And not only that, the number one person that are leading the polls that's not even running for president is New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo. So because the media is always, I wouldn't say the number one culprit, but it is such influential medium when we consume things, consume information. And if you have every single broadcasting channel doing live streams of the White House press conferences, everyone's going to be talking about it. Airtime is money time. So people are these companies are trying to make the money. Sure, that makes sense. But I think especially given times of a pandemic, you should probably, give the facts and not just broadcast an idiot saying nothing or saying something that's completely stupid, like injecting bleach, or just go outside and do UV lighting.
I think I think this is the point where he figures out his type of anyways, I think this is the point where he figures out his type of charisma or his type of speech only works when it's in front of thousands of his supporters and he's talking about things that he doesn't have, like checks he doesn't have to cash later. Like, this is the point where we actually need a leader, not a politician or a showman, as I would call it. But anyway,
his response, him being in front of the camera, is definitely terrible. And even it's not a partisan thing; it's a him thing. It's all about him. Like Bush actually had a response team, a pandemic response team. All the other presidents do. Any person with some experience in the government, in politics, should have a backup plan for something like this. And
for sure,
it's just that we are pretty shit out of luck to be stuck with this guy during this pandemic. Honestly, if you look at other Western countries too, and how they're doing, like Germany's doing pretty well.
New Zealand is doing really well.
New Zealand's doing fantastic. Their prime minister, I think her name is Janice.
I don't know her name.
She's been good.
She's been doing fantastic, though.
But she's amazing. She's been amazing since her being elected, especially during the church shooting that happened about a year ago. She worked with her legislature to ban assault rifles in the whole country. So props to her.
So if you look at other countries' responses, there's definitely better examples. The one thing that I would like to say is
Like
that
Boris Johnson,
Yes.
for example,
Boris Johnson.
he's a Trump ally, or was
He is.
probably. And the NHS is doing a lot more, and Boris was the one that ignored everything, and then
Yep.
and then he got it.
And then he got it,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the point. I think I honestly think that America would come out of this much more prepared for the next big pandemic. Because in Taiwan, the reason we were able to act so fast is because we had it. In 2003, there's this thing called SARS, and it was all over the street, and people died. And so we learned from our mistakes, and we learned how to act fast. So I don't know how you feel, but I don't know. Maybe this is a learning opportunity. I know people are dying, but you know, I'm sure there's going to be a next pandemic. So hopefully we can handle it better.
hopefully not in our lifetimes and the next
Hopefully.
generation. I don't
Exactly.
know, but it seems to happen every a couple of 100 years, maybe 100 years. The last time we had this Spanish flu,
Yeah.
or
How
H1N1 medicine.
are you buying into the origin stories that people have been telling about the coronavirus, about how it's like a bioweapon created in some Chinese lab? You think there's any validity to that?
I'm definitely not buying into it. It's just a story made up not just by the Trump administration, but more so just racist. That they just want to blame it on somebody. You know, that's human nature.
Yeah.
When shit hits the fan, they're gonna have to point fingers at someone. And yes, it did originate in Wuhan, China.
Yeah.
We don't know how it started, but saying that it's a bioweapon is really pushing it.
Exactly. Like I can even accept the fact that it's lab made. It could be some sort of an experiment. But I think saying that it's targeted towards America, trying to topple the American economy is, you know, pretty egocentric, to be honest. Anyway.
It is.
But
it is.
Yeah.
But I think there's a trend. SARS actually also originated somewhere in Southeast China. And that's I'm still buying into the whole argument of it mutating from bats to swine.
Yeah, so the wet market and how it should all be banned.
Exactly.
Yep.
There was actually this informational video from Vice News on YouTube that kind of shows how this kind of started, like in a wet market, and how it could jump because the sanitation and hygiene at these wet markets are down to zero. So, you know, the likelihood of it happening is a lot more true than it being made in a lab.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
like
again, I'm not a medical expert or anything. But.
For sure. Yeah. Like I can even agree with controlling the wet markets, definitely upping the hygiene level. You know, it's some people's culture to eat certain types of cuisines. It's not my place to say they just should abandon it altogether. It's probably not my personal choice of eating, but I feel like there could be more control in place. So yeah, maybe China could do a better job on that. But speaking of it originating from China, I'm just wondering, how is the viewpoint of Americans on Chinese people now? Because I know there's got to be some sort of a gap there of certain Americans thinking that this is some sort of Chinese plot or the Chinese people brought it. And, you know, you're never at a loss for weird people and BART yelling stuff at you. So how has it been? Like, what do you feel like is the attitude towards, you know, Chinese immigrants or just Chinese people living in America at this moment?
You know, honestly, it's not just a Chinese thing. It's an Asian American, any Asian in the world kind of thing. As long as you're Asian, as long as you look Asian, you are going to be a subject of racism. And, you know, if you follow Next Shark, they're also really good at reporting this kind of stuff. Cyberbullying wise, actual assaults, physical assaults. It's just, you know, the pandemic gave it a new
justification, I guess.
I'd say an excuse. I wouldn't say
Okay.
it's not justified. It's
Hmm.
just an excuse to actually show their racism.
Yeah, an excuse would be a better word. My
Yeah.
bad.
So
English is not my first language, so
no
gotta
worries.
clear that
No.
up.
I'm just saying justification seems like it's justified.
Yeah, it's not.
Whereas, racism is definitely just their excuse. Like, it's affecting everyone. Like, even in San Francisco, one of the most liberal places in the world.
Yep.
Sorry, in the country. I should say in the country.
Yeah.
People have said that multiple times. I am very lucky and fortunate that I have not experienced anything during this pandemic.
Yeah.
But myself, I have experienced racism in San Francisco a few years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
You're breaking up a little bit.
when I was driving, and,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't make sense. This most likely straight white male, definitely was a white male. Don't know if he's straight or not, but
Okay. Yeah.
racist,
I understand.
just racist.
Yeah. So how do you think that like how long do you think this would linger? Like I'm sure the pandemic hasn't ended yet, and like how long do you think the shelter at home orders would continue towards, and when do you realistically see this being over, I guess?
Realistically, when the vaccine is available to give to everyone, though, not just when the vaccine is made or it's done. It has to be readily available, kind of like testing. It has to be readily available. Vaccine is, from what I've been reading, the testing phase with human trials. The most prominent one from Gilead, actually based in the Bay Area, Redwood City, I believe. Their drug remdesivir is in trials, but we don't know. In the meantime, it's pretty good, but we don't know. And most likely, things will probably not be normal until next year, maybe even end of next year. Hell, maybe even 2022.
I know it's gonna be a while. Like I can already imagine me being back on the BART and being yelled at by some crazy dude about how the Chinese people are bringing the virus in and whatever. Like I can already see that happening. So I'm sure that's a real concern if and when things open back up. One thing that I think is really interesting is I actually graduated early, a semester early. That's why I've been able to come back to Taiwan before the shit hit the fan. But I'm still technically a graduate of 2020. So I'm a graduate in this pandemic where no one had commencement and no one even had classes for the second half of the semester. I don't know. I'm sure you know people that are graduates of this weird pandemic era. What do you think we're missing out on if we missed out on our last half semester of senior year?
Yeah. I think, well, first of all, we wouldn't be able to create this picture. Oh, no, you can't see it. Hold up.
I can't see it. Okay, now I can see it. Exactly. See, so
we can't create this picture.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, like graduating, working your ass off for 4 years or however long you were in university, sucks. Not just university, overall middle school, high school.
For sure. Yeah.
It sucks a lot. And, California has endured a lot, specifically in Berkeley, like they've experienced a lot of the riots post 2016 elections, the alt-right speech movement kind of thing. So they've experienced a lot during their time, and now to end it, they can't even graduate at California Memorial Stadium, not be able to celebrate it with their friends, taking pictures. Definitely really sucks. And, well, some people would take it more to heart than others. I think that I was an RA. That's how we met. And
Yeah.
I have a few students. I emailed my students saying, "Hey, congratulations. I understand it's not the best ending to your story, but I hope you're doing well, staying safe." So and I got some good responses saying like, I'm just gonna continue looking for a job, or I'm this uh, this pandemic has not taken a bigger toll than it could have been. They're still fighting. Class of 2020 is
Yeah.
still fighting.
Nice.
They're doing the best they can. They're celebrating in a safe way.
Exactly.
And it's good. It's good to see that they're still making the best out of a pandemic. And
I could definitely see the whole thing about the job market and finding a job. Those are very real concerns, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. But I'm very glad that I actually attended the graduation ceremony, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to create any of those memories. Can you still hear me?
the last thing I heard was we're gonna talk about this in a little bit, and then that.
Okay, yeah. So I'm very glad that I attended the ceremony previously, so we could create all those memories. I was able to walk and go through all the experiences, so I'm very glad. And one thing that I was, by the way, now I'll tell you later. Anything. One thing that I was telling my friends is that the class of 2020 has been through so much, and if you think about it, the Milo riots in Berkeley, and we got the crazy wildfires, and we got the whole PG&E shutdown, and now we have a pandemic. A lot of it has to do with the mask. But anyway, you have to wear all kinds of different masks, from gas masks to surgical masks, right? So, if there's one thing we can do, that's put on a mask. Anyways, but yeah, we've been through a lot, but glad to see that they're still fighting. One thing that I did wanted to talk about was the whole thing about finding a job. That must be one of the most devastating impacts of people losing their jobs and not being able to find a job for a lot of the graduates. I personally have friends who have been laid off without having even to start at their jobs yet, because the companies just no longer needed to hire. Do you have any stories like that, and how do you feel like the economic trends in the city and in the Bay Area is looking like?
Yeah, obviously the biggest one that's been taking a hit is the hospitality industry.
For sure.
Hotels, airlines, cruises, you name it, Airbnb even.
Yep.
So I haven't had friends that got laid off even before they started. But I have some friends that are in limbo. They don't know when they're going to be able to go back to work again.
For sure.
I just think that sometimes these stimulus packages aren't the best way. I actually still haven't gotten my $1,200 actually.
Oh, I already got it. So thank you, Mr. Trump. Yeah.
Anyway. Actually, it's a partisan thing, so you have to thank the Democratic leaders as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes. Thank you. Thank you all. Nancy Pelosi or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. No, but a lot of the times, for example, the cruise line industries, at least, I don't know the percentage, but most of these cruises do not fly an American flag. And the sole purpose of that is to tax evade. They don't have to pay as many taxes,
Yeah.
And yet they still get a big chunk of that stimulus package. That's just not fair to taxpayers like us,
Okay.
It really it's just stupid and unfortunate. Because there are a lot of hardworking farmers in the Midwest, in the middle of the country, that actually don't have jobs because of this pandemic. And they're losing jobs, and they pay taxes too. Exactly. But they should get a bigger cut. It's not
Makes
about the whole stimulation package is expanding the pie.
Yeah.
But America's pie is not that big.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
like we're already in debt.
Yeah.
We've been
We
in
are.
debt for the longest
Tremendously.
time. The Obama administration helped it come back, but you know, now we're completely in debt.
Well,
So
yeah. I wonder, how has the response at JLL been? Have you heard about, any firings of that sort?
no, actually. So
Okay.
JLL, so most at JLL people, because we are actually very essential. We're not closing buildings. You know, we're still managing them, and we had to make some decisions to lay off some people but they're not JLL people. They're like janitors and parking team members. So that's the hard part that we have to do. But thankfully, you know, my building has been doing really well. We only have to lay off a few people that are janitors. Security is still intact. We're just rotating them a lot. Parking, we're still paying them, even though our parking garage is closed. Well, now it's open, but it was closed for a good month and a half. But our ownership, Prudential, PGIM Real Estate, is in a very good. They have enough cash reserves. This is not a
plug.
Not a plug for PGIM or JLL, but I'm just saying we're fortunate enough to not having many layoffs, and we are financially good. I heard that the group that manages Caesar's Palace and a lot of the other hotels in Las Vegas, they can continue this for at least another 12 to 16 months.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But then, well, given that they have to furlough everybody, right? But still, that's being smart.
That's definitely an industry that I see having a lot of trouble.
You're saving for a rainy day, and but
yeah. So the hospitality industry is definitely going to take a huge hit. And so yeah, like you said, tough decisions have to be made, and I think those are the people that actually need the stimulus check, right? Not the big corporations that need a bailout. Actual Americans are suffering because of the response. That's crazy. Anyways, but one thing that I wanted to talk about is I feel like the effects of this pandemic is going to linger for a long time, and it's going to seriously affect how the way our world works after the pandemic. So one very significant one I see is international travel. Like, is it going to be as open as before, and what measures have to be put in place? Does everyone that comes into a country have to be quarantined? Because imagine a country like Taiwan, where very few people have the coronavirus. After everything opens back up, if business travelers from, let's say, the US, a lot of them probably have antibodies of some sort, come into the country, how is that response going to be? Like, what are the concerns that bothers you most about what the future would look like?
I think the number one thing is uncertainty. We don't know anything.
Exactly.
There are like designs of airplanes putting plastic barriers. There are designs of airplanes with plastic barriers, and every other seat is a different row. So the window seat is going to be facing towards the plane, towards the cockpit, and then the one in the middle is facing the butt of the plane, the end of the airplane.
Yeah.
That's some of the designs that I saw. But actually, traveling is a little bit interesting because back in 1918, during the Spanish flu, it still spread way worse than COVID-19 did without airplanes. That's the interesting point, is that, yeah, we might, since the information is, we know a lot more now. Well, not much of this know about coronavirus, obviously, but we know more. We know how to plan. We just don't know when to plan and how to plan, how to adapt. And you know, it's interesting. I think people will be a little bit more hesitant, but we'll see. I can't make a judgment of how post COVID-19 traveling will be, but I will say, even right now, there was a doctor flying back from New York from helping over there. He boarded a United flight. It was completely packed. No other seat was filled. Every seat was filled.
Yeah.
No social distancing, but there were a lot of masks. Sure.
Yeah. I feel like that's a little not enough. Anyways.
It's just blows my mind that even in the middle of the pandemic, they're not taking these guidelines seriously. And that's how this is how we prolong the pandemic. Stupidity.
Yeah.
And,
sure. And
profits over human lives. So.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta get the bash for the big corporations in at the end, But yeah, I think besides traveling, one thing that I see very prevalent is actually higher education and how that would continue. And as an international student myself, what about fellow international students that might go to the U.S. for a better education? Is it going to be allowed? How are visas going to be permitted? I feel like those are all real concerns after the pandemic. And one thing, stuff like sports, concerts, large venue gatherings, I love those things a lot, and I wonder if they're ever going to be the same. Like, you can't, like, how are you going to pack 60,000 people into a football stadium after the pandemic? Like, I don't see any way in doing that. So, we'll see how it goes. So that's definitely a real concern. Baseball games. How are we going to go to the baseball game?
Well, going back to the higher education point first, this actually coincides with a lot of companies doing what they're doing right now. Is how it seems that companies will talk language. So what's the point of hiring people that are going to be on site? There's no point, right? Not to say that there's no point in education. There's always a point in education, but it's more so how a university will decide admission and how how they'll see a change. I think that there is definitely into technology like Zoom that we're using. They're looking at interfaces. But honestly, to be honest, international students, they can get an education, for example, in Berkeley via Zoom.
Yeah.
But they don't have to pay the dorm fees. They don't have to pay housing fees, food, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm not like a supporter of it. I think being physically in a classroom is a lot better than having Zoom lectures. It just takes a lot of the actual classroom elements out of education, and I think that's very important. You need to be in a classroom to learn, in my opinion. Like, not just learning the material, but learning how you collaborate with other people. Especially in group projects. And I think I'm a big proponent of networking. So I'm thankful that I have a great network at Berkeley, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was virtually learning. I would not have that to Rome, and I would have probably met you.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and a lot of it is about the experiences, the actual college experience outside of the classroom. Like, if you were a new college admit next year, like, can you even go to a football game? Like, can you hang out with people? Do you have the social distancing? Can you imagine going to let's say Triple Rock on a Thursday night? Hello? You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, can you go? Can you imagine Triple Rock on a Thursday night with social distancing, where everyone has to be 6 feet apart? Yeah, I don't think our world is gonna be the same for a while. Not unless the vaccine is actually a real thing. If there's no permanent cure to this thing, I don't know. It's all uncertain. Like you said, it's all up in the air. But yeah, it's all very
Yeah, the
grim,
point
I
of the
feel like.
hospitality being the biggest. What? Hello?
Yeah, I feel like this is very grim,
It
the
is.
whole
It is.
situation.
Another grim note is that going back to the hospitality point, like a lot of restaurants and bars are taking a beating for sure.
Yeah.
There's one bakery called Specialties that serves, pastries, sandwiches, coffee.
Yeah.
They do a lot of catering. It's tough. It's very tough. But I think we will learn from this. We are the shimmering, the good glimpse of hope is that we're learning more and more. We're surviving.
Yep.
We have each other. We have our families. We have technology to get through this.
Yep.
Can you imagine actually talking to someone? I go insane.
I know.
I go completely insane.
I know.
So
It's gonna be crazy.
I'm thankful, and things will go back to normal. It'll just take a little bit of more time, but I'm very hopeful that we'll be back to where we are, and hopefully this won't happen ever again. But I don't know.
All right.
Fingers crossed.
Nice. That's actually a very good note. Now I'm gonna segue into something more positive. So the pandemic has actually given me a lot of free time to develop new hobbies, watch shows that I've been wanting to catch up on. I'm just wondering, have you been doing anything? Have you been developing any new hobbies during the quarantine?
Not really, actually. Because a lot of my hobbies tend to be a little bit more outdoorsy.
Yeah.
I hike.
Yeah.
It was home a lot, and the trails were open. I'd be out there a lot. I thought I have a guitar, but maybe I should learn how to play that. I don't know.
You should.
But I've been, yeah, I know. But actually, I used to bake a lot, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I even have I really want to bake, but it's more so I don't have the motivation to for some reason. It's just like,
Okay.
when are we gonna get out of this? I tend to bake not just to be feel good or stress relief or whatever. I'm more so baked for people. If I'm not gonna see anybody,
then why am I baking?
Like, you can only really learn from your baking if you're sharing with people and they give you feedback. Oh, is it too sweet? Is it too salty? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I have actually picked up bartending.
Nice.
Yeah. Last week I made an Earl Grey old fashioned. So I infused bourbon with Earl Grey tea bag, and it was phenomenal. Not to brag, but it was very damn good.
All right, I'm gonna have to try that the next time we see each other then.
Yeah, definitely. You just have to give me like 2 days notice because I have to put the tea bag in the mix and it for at least 24 hours.
Yeah, I've actually been picking up
very
baking. I've actually been picking up baking for my family. So made brownies last night, completely butchered them, put them in the oven for way too long. They turned out like crisp, like burnt. But you know what? I'm doing stuff, and of course, this podcast is also a product of having, not a lot of other stuff to do and also time to develop new hobbies. So I don't know. Maybe it is a blessing in disguise, at least on my part. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, speaking of hobbies, I do want to talk a little bit about baseball because it is a common interest I share. And first of all, I don't know if you've been reading up on any of the MLB's responses. But what do you think about them, and when do you think realistically we'll be able to? Well, we might not even be able to go back to a baseball game, but what do you think is going to happen for the season?
Yeah, I think the number one thing to talk about is season ticket holders, the
Yeah,
fans.
for
You
sure,
know,
for sure.
one, you don't have fans. Like, how are teams going to pay back the fans? Like, well, you already spent a lot of money on them before this happened, right? And another thing, teams have been thinking about playing games with empty stadiums. If I was an athlete and I go play for a stadium full of nobodies, but you're gonna only televise it, I feel so shitty. Yeah, there's a difference between, you know, the booing, the cheering is all like that just adds atmosphere to it. Like,
Yeah,
you have the bases loaded, bottom of ninth, you're down by like 3 runs. You want to cheer on and see that person in the box hit a grand slam, walk it off, celebrate their guts out. You know, throwing the water coolers, the beer and champagne and all that is totally different. And like, um, originally they said MLB said they're going to play shortened season starting July.
yeah,
All that stuff. And I forgot who created it. I think it was either A-Rod or oh shoot, what's his name? Mariano Rivera. Like, he said that shortened seasons and the champs that come from that it stings. Like,
yeah,
it takes away a lot of the effort and hard work that people have been putting in. If you
yeah,
played 162 games versus 80 or fewer. So yeah, I mean, I do want it to come back, even if it's going to be just televised. That's fine. Um, but it just sucks not being able to go to the ballpark, especially having the best ballpark in all of America, Oracle Park,
yep,
with the best food, overpriced booze, whatever. But you know, it's still the best. The atmosphere, having the Seagulls come in after every game. They don't even come after every game. They start coming in like the seventh or eighth inning. I miss hearing, Tony Bennett, that left my heart in San Francisco, play
yeah,
after every single Giants win, home victory. I really miss the Dodger Giants rivalry. I love talking baseball with my friends, and there's hardly anything to talk about. And I miss fantasy. There's no more fantasy.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's definitely a big element missing the fans, but having something I feel like is better than nothing. So I wholeheartedly support that they just televise it. Whatever, I mean, just give us something to watch. People need sports, especially in these times. So I support that, and we'll see when we can ever get into a ballpark again. But speaking of the Dodgers, what a bad season to make that trade, huh? That
Oh
he's not
yeah, the
even gonna
Mookie
play.
Betts trade.
Yeah, he's not even gonna play a game for us if the season doesn't start. He's gonna play in front of no fans. Dude, can you imagine that? And not being able to go to a Dodgers Giants game, it's gonna suck. We'll probably still win the World Series though. So
Definitely not. But also,
yes.
I mean, hey, who knows? I bet you it probably originated in Houston. The Astros wanted no baseball to be played, so they don't get booed, they don't get beamed.
Yes. Yes.
They probably could have started it. Who knows?
They could have. They could have. Carlos Correa sneaking into Wuhan, taking a bite out of a bat or whatever, bringing it back to the U.S. Dude, the Astros are such cheaters. I wouldn't put it past them. You know what? This season is going to be the season where they pay for what they've done, and now they won't pay. So I don't know. Maybe the next season. Maybe eventually when fans are allowed back, I'm sure people will remember. Um, you know, We'll see.
Yeah, I'm sure the Astros is definitely a big supporter of no fans in the state.
Oh yeah. They're like, we'll play all our games from now on without fans. We'll close all the seats. It just, you know what? I support just getting rid of the team. I don't think the Astros should be a team anymore. They're cheaters.
Whoa, okay, that's a little too far.
Hey, I maintain my point of view that the punishment was too light. It was way too light. Should have taken away the trophy. Should have taken away the MVP. I think that's only fair.
Well,
anyways,
I wouldn't say that's fair. Okay, they still put in work in spring training. They still played like 162 games. Though I don't know how many times they've cheated during the regular season. Maybe not, maybe none. But hey, they still worked hard. They still trained. They just did something during the postseason and they got caught.
Yeah, wait until their team cheats you out of a World Series championship. We'll see how that feels. I was watching that series.
Well, it probably won't happen ever again after this. So tough luck. But I agree. If it was against any other team than the Los Angeles Dodgers, I would care a little more. But because of the Dodgers, I don't care.
Dude, I was
beat
so
LA.
sad when I was watching
Beat
this.
LA.
I knew they were cheating. I knew they couldn't be that good. Free you, Darvish, from the annals of bad postseason performances. He's a quality pitcher. We should have won. I was so sad. I was taking a midterm during Game 7. Should have known they were cheating. So sad. I was ready to go to the game, the first game, because I think so the Astros are going to face the A's very soon. So I was actually going to the game just to boo them. But that didn't happen. So lucky break for them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk all you want, but at the end of the day, like MLB Manfred did not decide to take away the championship. But it will be marked with a fat asterisk. On every record book that you find.
Asterisk. The fattest one.
Asterisk.
For sure. Okay. Well, I wish baseball would come back. We all wish that. But
any sport. Oh, I can't wait until college football too, but who knows?
Yeah, college football. I saw a piece the other day talking about how much athletic departments depend on the revenue football games bring in. That's going to be a huge hit too. Like, imagine like Alabama without football games. That's going to be crazy.
Yeah, no, like for Cal example, they suck. Cal football actually generates a lot of revenue.
Exactly.
And so does basketball, and they suck too, but they generate a lot of revenue to cover the other departments. So, but at the moment, NCAA and the NFL has not said anything. It seems like it might start on track.
It might. We'll see. Because the moment you start messing with football, that's when the protest actually goes crazy. Like right now, you think the people protesting down south are crazy? No, they're not. They're mild. When you start taking away college football, that's when the guns start coming out. They'll fight anyone, and I do not want to see that happen. So, televise the games. Let them play in an empty arena. Test everyone, and make sure none of them have COVID, and just play it out. I don't think
it's not the game.
What?
It's not just the game. It's also the tailgating. It's not just the college degenerates, for lack of better terms. Like them getting blacked out even before the game starts. No, it's about tailgating. You have a lot of proud alumni going out there barbecuing and just chugging some beers and maybe hitting on some college chicks.
Supporting the
That's
team.
a part of the game. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Yeah.
Supporting the team.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll get football. because I think America falls apart when there's no football. I really do think so. Like it's gonna get way more violent if football stops, and hopefully we get that. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, if there's like, I'm sure you miss hanging out with people, but like, what else do you miss about the old way of life? Is there something that you thought wasn't that important that you've taken for granted, and now you're like, oh, you know what? I actually love that. Love that I was able to do that, or whatever. I don't know.
Actually, I think that's pretty much it. Like, I love going to cafes or bars and just, either catching up with myself or with others.
Yeah.
I miss that experience. It's the ambiance and the atmosphere that these places provide. And with sporting events or concerts. Are you gonna pack that many people in the Bill Graham Auditorium? No, not at all.
Exactly.
I actually had 2 concerts in during this month. So I've got those going to next year. One of them is called The Dip. They are a retro kind of pop ensemble from Seattle. There's like I actually saw them. Thankfully, I saw them last year at Lagunitas. They're a pretty good band. That's why I would love to see them again. This other band's called The Grin. They're also a indie rock kind of band. I actually learned about them because of Dom and Aaliyah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, that is definitely something I missed. And actually, I miss going to the movies a lot. I've always taken that for granted. And now I can't go to the movies. There aren't any new movies out. And, I underestimated just how big a part of my entertainment it is, So I've been missing that a lot. But thankfully, here in Taiwan, you can still go to movie theaters. Actually, went to a couple movies.
Almost joined club. Say it again.
You joined what club? The AMC movie club?
I was about to join the movie pass club from AMC.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna take a huge hit as well. Just the box office revenue. That's why no new movies are coming out, because they couldn't they've been risk taking the hit, right? But
I mean, I was very excited to watch No Time to Die, James Bond, 25th film, I think, and then Tenet from Chris Nolan.
Chris Nolan, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Tenet is still on track to be released in July. I don't know if that's still the case, but I do miss the theaters. You're correct. Some movies you just had to see in the theaters. John Wick 3, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is definitely a part that I'm missing a lot. But thankfully, I'm in Taiwan, so I can technically still go to a movie theater. I bet you're jealous. All the bars are still open. The restaurants, I can still go everywhere. You can't. You have to stay at home. So that's the difference. If the response was better, things could technically still be open. They could, but that's what sucks. But hopefully it'll end.
Coulda, woulda.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully it'll end soon. But that about sums it up. I just wanted to talk to you today about quarantine. I think it's an interesting topic. These are difficult times. So you got any parting words for the viewers before you leave?
I will say that this will definitely not be my first and last appearance on this podcast.
Definitely.
But to the people watching, I hope that you aren't being racist toward anybody, not just Asians.
That is true.
Don't be racist. But my last bit of advice is there's always hope for a better future, for a new normal, a better new normal. Hopefully, we learn a lot from this pandemic, given the flaws of our medical system, our economy, our government. And it's a learning. It's a very, very expensive lesson, but one that we had to endure. That's part of living, how you react to
Exactly.
certain events. And honestly, take this time to learn about yourself. Learn what are your strengths and your weaknesses, so that you can actually put them on your resume when the time comes for jobs to hire again.
Yeah.
Learn new hobbies, and I think the number one advice is, learn to love spending time with your family,
Yep.
or your friends.
Yep. I'm definitely enjoying that. I think those are very good messages. Don't be racist.
Yeah.
There's always hope, and enjoy the time off. You may never be getting a time like this where you can just stay at home, chill with family for a long period of time ever in your lifetime. So use this time to do something or be with your family, spend time with people you love. And yeah, that's it. So thank you, Brandon, for being on, and I'm sure we're gonna talk again soon.
Thanks for having me, Derek. Pleasure.
No problem.
Stay healthy.
Stay
Stay safe.
healthy.